you raising the dead.
Stop! Blasphemer!
Welcome to the Atheist Podcast. Now, before we start this podcast, let's take a look at our dumb Bible quote of the week.
I permit no woman to teach or have authority over men. She is to be kept silent.
Now, on to the question of the century. Is there a God? And my answer to that is no, there isn't a God. You may have a different answer. I respect your opinion, but this is mine. I believe that there is no God because why would a God allow killing in his name? Why would a God allow his creations to be separated by race or religion? Why would a God deter advances in science? Why would a God promote homophobia? Why would a God ask one of his creations to kill another? Why? So there you have it. That's my answer as to if there is a God or not. I don't believe there is because why would a God allow all those bad things to occur? All those horrendous things to occur? Now, some of you might use free will as an example of why. But God idly standing by while all these things happen, make him just as responsible for all these things as the person doing them. And it's terrible that people worship this entity. It's terrible that people go to church every Sunday to worship this entity. They pray to this entity who is essentially responsible for all of these terrible things. And that's, you can believe that there is a God or not, but the evidence against there being a God is greater than the evidence of there actually being a God, the evidence proving that there is a God. So, in my opinion, we need to move ahead as a society and not look at some 2,000-year-old mystical man in the sky for help. Because no one's going to help you from the sky. You're the only person that can help you. And that's the truth. That is the truth. If you use God to escape your daily life, that's fine. But if you use God to make laws, to legislate, to go to war, as George W. Bush did, then that's where I draw the line. I'm not attacking religion. I am attacking the use of religion. Because people are using religion as an excuse to kill other people. And I'm not just talking about Christianity, I'm also talking about Islam and the Islamic State. They are basically living by the Quran, word for word. And a lot of good people are dying because of it. If there was no religion, there would be no Islamic State. There would be no war in the Middle East right now between the Islamic State and other followers of Islam. It's a war within the religion. And if there was no religion, some of you might say that, they're going to fight over the oil and stuff. But, That's what George W. Bush did. This is how George W. Bush used God. He said that God told him to go to war. Truth is that oil motivated him to go to war. And it's sad that he lied to so many people. And it's also sad that it worked. It worked. So, this podcast tells the truth. And you can pick and choose which truths you want to take in and which ones you just want to dismiss as some scientist's theory. You can choose. Because just like religion, you can choose which parts of science you like. Even though all of science is, for the most part, correct. You can choose. In the Bible, it says that you shouldn't cut your hair, shave your beard, get a tattoo. And it also says that you shall not lay with another man. But a bunch of religious worshippers choose to go at the homosexuals instead of the people that shave their beard, cut their hair, because everyone shaves their beard, cuts their hair, but there's only a certain percentage of the world that's homosexual. So if there was no religion, there would be no homophobia, because people are homophobic because the Bible or the Quran tells them that being a homosexual is evil. It's evil. And that's simply not true, because if you go and talk to a person who's interested in another person of their same sex, they're normal people. It's not like you're talking to some freak. They're normal people. And freak as in somebody that, I don't use the word freak as a derogatory term. I mean people with pink and green mohawks and tattoos all over their face. That's what I mean. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just use it as a sort of funny little term. Kind of quirky. And the world would be no one can deny that the world wouldn't be a better place without religion, because there would be more advances in science. Way more advances in science than now, because now they're limited by biblical law, biblical scripture. They're limited to what they can and can't do. But if there was no biblical scripture stopping them, then there would be more advances. And I think it's either 40 or 50% of scientists believe in a higher power, which is shocking. Just take that number in. 40 to 50% of scientists believe in a higher power. These are the people making the medicine you use, the vaccines you use. These are those people. And also think of the good that could be done in places such as Africa, where people don't use condoms because the Pope condemns condoms, because religion condemns condoms. So there's a ton of STDs and STIs that are spread throughout Africa. And if there was no religion, women would have more rights in places such as Africa. Therefore, it would be an even playing field, and countries in Africa can grow with women's rights. And religion is doing so much good in the world as well. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a hater of religion. There are charities out there that look after millions of people, religious charities. But there are also charities that aren't motivated by religion to look after other people. Most people, this is a topic for a different podcast, but a lot of people say that without religion you wouldn't have morals. Well, morals existed before religion because it's common sense not to hurt another person. It's common sense not to hurt a fellow human being. And if we slowly cut out religion now, this is a hypothetical, if religion gets cut out, we're not going to turn into an anarchist society. There's still going to be laws in place. There's still going to be police officers. There's still going to be medicine. There's still going to be fire. There's still going to be doctors and paramedics. There's still going to be firefighters. It's not going to descend into anarchy, our society. No. It's going to stay the way it is. But God is going to be taken out of laws. God is going to be taken out of daily talks. And, in my personal opinion, the world would be a better place without religion, but do I want to see religion completely eradicated? No. Because I also believe that for some people, religion offers great benefits, and if religion was taken away completely, sure, we would still have all that stuff. No one would be worshiping a higher power, but also, all those people that depend on their faith daily would have nothing. I know I'm going back and forth here. At some points I sound really religious, and some points I sound really atheist, but, I'm in the middle, basically. I mean, if there's evidence that there's a God, obviously I'm going to become religious once more. I'm essentially an agnostic, but most atheists are agnostic. So, is there a God? In my opinion, no. But I'm sure that a lot of you have different opinions, and I respect your right to those opinions. That's my own personal belief, that there is no God, and there is no evidence for a God. There's evidence that there was a Big Bang, because the stars are moving apart as if they were once together, and now something has exploded, and now everything's just moving apart. That's evidence of a Big Bang. There's evidence of evolution. Even the Pope accepts evolution, or the previous one did. Accepts evolution, and most Catholics accept it. I don't know about evangelical Christians or Muslims or Jewish people or any people of any faith. But just, if you're a religious person out there, I just want to leave you with this. If there was no religion, there would be no holy wars, be no religious segregation, there would be more advances in science, there would be no religiously motivated laws, and there would be no homophobia. Just imagine that. Imagine living in a utopian society instead of worshipping a magical man in the sky. Imagine that. And if you're a religious person out there that's gonna criticize this podcast as being just propaganda, know that I'm not promoting anything except for not believing. That's the only thing I'm pushing here. I'm not pushing t-shirts. I'm not pushing brands. I'm just pushing an idea of not believing in another idea. You see, if you look at the Bible, if you just look at it, read what's in it. It's a collection of made-up stories. And this may seem like I'm attacking all the religious people listening. No, I'm just talking to the ones that are just so committed that they don't want to hear anything else, and anything else is just lies and just deceit towards them and their views. So they're evil people. Anyways, so just look at the Bible, and if you're on the edge of becoming an atheist, I want you to also look at the Bible and just read it. And just think in your mind, billions of people believe these tales. Billions. I'm not talking about millions, thousands, maybe 10 people. No. Billions. Because these religions have been pushed. Even the Quran. Go read the Quran. About Muhammad somehow flying to God. These tales have been pushed on us, on society, for thousands of years. And they've picked up enough traction to where desperate people start believing these stories of angels and, thinking that they have a purpose. They have a predetermined purpose to be on this earth. No. You as humans need to make your own purpose on this earth. You need to find out what you're here to do, what you're good at, what you can do. You're not here to do something that a magical man put in your DNA or something like that. No. You're here to be you. There's billions of things like you, but there's only one you. And that's not because of some god or gods, plural. That's because of evolution. Because of evolution, every human's DNA is different. Because of evolution and natural selection, we have the things that we have. Because of those things. And science can explain it all, basically. We're on the way to living in a utopian society void of any religious thought. Problem is, we have a bunch of people that are pushing religion. As I've said previously in this podcast, I have no problem if you're religious. You can continue to be religious. But if you're religious and you push and push and push and push, if you're one of those people that believes creationism should be taught in school, then, there's a problem there. There is a problem because most people in the world, religious or not, don't believe that creationism should be taught in school alongside evolution. Because creationism is a bunch of stories, or is one story, and evolution is one fact. One singular fact of the universe. This explains why we are who we are. It explains how we came into existence. It explains what types of us there were, as in humans, what types of humans there were, and how we are descendants or cousins to chimps. Just, it's fascinating if you look at it. Even if you're religious, I encourage you to just look at a high school science textbook. Just look into it, and you'll see how amazing this stuff is. If you really open up your mind to other things, you'll see how fascinating the universe is. You'll see how amazing everything is. Now, I don't want you guys to think that this is like a one-sided atheist thing on this channel. No. Next week, I'm going to try and get a interview with a preacher, pastor, father, whatever, on this channel. I'll play if I can get it by next week, no promises, but if I can get it by next week, I'll play a snippet of it on the podcast, just to give you a little taste, and then I'll release the full interview separately on this channel, so you'll get to hear a true religious person's perspective on the things I'm saying. So it's not a one-sided thing. So it's not a he said and nobody else said. It's going to be back and forth next week, hopefully. But it's going to be, a fair balance on this channel so you can get the right information that you need to get. And I can hopefully transition you to atheism, but if I can't, at least the least I can do is give it a try. Because no one else is going to. No one else is going to help you because no one's helped you thus far. This has truly been a back and forth podcast. Me saying one thing and then the other and then saying that I don't want you to believe this, but you can if you want. I apologize for that. But, again, I've said this in this podcast, but I want to bring a fair balance to this podcast. So, no one feels like they're being attacked except for the highly religious people that are pushing religion in legislature where it shouldn't be. Because, called me old-fashioned, but I believe in the separation of church and state. I mean, it only makes sense. Those S's, like a snake. Speaking of snakes, let's talk about another story. Oh, so many S's. This is really going to be the last thing I'm going to say in this podcast. But let's talk about Adam, Eve, the apple of knowledge, the fruit of knowledge. I don't think it's even called an apple. The fruit of knowledge, and the serpent that persuaded them to take that fruit and disobey God. Does that sound like something that can actually happen? Can there be a fruit of knowledge? No. Can there be a talking serpent? No. Were all animals vegetarian? No. I'll get into that in another podcast as to why, but I'm pretty sure all of you know, just by looking at a meat eater, why a meat eater couldn't ever be a vegetarian. But, oh yeah, can a man just be created from elements that you can find? Yes, that's how we were created. But can a woman be created from the rib of another human? No, this is ludicrous stuff that's being pushed to children. Think about it. Kids are being told this stuff. But, kids, we even tell kids that Santa Claus exists for a certain time, but then we, tell them no, it doesn't when they get, no, he doesn't when they get old enough. But who's to say that Santa Claus doesn't exist if God exists? Apparently. So we need to get kids off the idea that there's a higher power. There's a higher power out there looking out for you, because sadly, that's not the case. It's never been the case, never going to be the case, unless you count that higher power as being a parent or guardian. That's never the case. That's never been the case, that there's a higher power up there looking down on you, making magical decisions. I mean, think about it. You can't touch God. You can't talk to God. You can't look at God. Who's to say Santa Claus isn't real? You can't touch Santa Claus. You can't talk to Santa Claus. You can't see Santa Claus, like the real Santa Claus, the real thing. I mean, I know St. Nicholas was, a guy in Turkey but what if Santa Claus actually exists? I mean, if I said that out in public, I'd be called crazy and just a lunatic and put into an insane asylum. I'm pretty sure people wouldn't go that far. But, people are out there saying that God exists. And they're, out there saying this stuff, not being challenged. And then, if I say Santa Claus exists, I'm being laughed at. It's the same concept. A guy that performs miracles. A guy that, brings joy. Same thing. Why doesn't Santa Claus exist? Why does God exist? Why do we believe one thing but not the other? That's what we need to challenge in our society. That's why this podcast is created. That's why, not to attack, your religion. Not to say that all Christians should, and all Muslims, and all Jewish people, Sikhs, Hindus, everybody should just, Zoroastrians, I just had to put that in there, should all die. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need to find a balance in our society. Because I do believe that religion provides good things as well as evil. So we need to find a certain balance in our society. And, we need to keep kids. This is one thing that Richard Dawkins said, and I'm reiterating on this podcast. We need to keep kids atheist until a certain age. Then we present them with the choices. They can either choose this religion, that religion, or atheism. Continue to be atheist. Because, if a kid's parents are, conservatives, that doesn't mean the kid's a conservative, because the kid doesn't understand politics. But why is it that if a kid's parents are Christian, that kid is Christian? That kid obviously doesn't understand religion. So why is that? Why is that? Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave this podcast. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing really gets this podcast out there. Share it on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Pinterest, your Instagram, your Vine, your MySpace, if you still use it, your religiabook.net, whatever. I don't even think that's a thing. If it is, I'd be surprised. And that's it for this podcast. So please, everyone, have a good day, and God bless you all.